they did a lot of things poorly late in this game to give this game away.
Yep, they gave the game away. That's exactly it. That's the most frustrating thing. I would have preferred for them to just turn around, lay down, lose 5-1, and do it that way instead of putting us through this nonsense. Because I said it in the bottom of the ninth. They can't tie this game. They have to win it because they're awful in extra innings.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. Today's episode of Locked On Yankees is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. With me, as always, is my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
Frustrating game. We got a lot of things to talk about.
We got a lot of things to talk about, and they all happened after the ninth inning. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We passed 6,500 subscribers on Wednesday. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified when our videos go live. So coming up on the show, we preview the rubber game. It's a rubber game because the Yankees won the first one. The Orioles struck back on Wednesday night, and we'll preview that final matchup. Are there any possible trade options, maybe, to help with the first base situation? We're going to talk about that in segment 2. But first, this frustratingly annoying game, and it feels like Gerrit Cole pitched 3 days ago.
Yeah, tough to analyze, right? I loved the way Giancarlo Stanton played tonight. I mean, he really took a leadership role in that offense. He was awesome tonight.
Yep.
Anthony Volpe was all over the base paths, was really good in the field, and that's about it.
Pretty much.
Really, that's about all I can say. That was good. I mean, Clay Holmes looked awful. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, Clay Holmes in his last 6 appearances looked awful. He's looked incredibly hittable. He's looked nothing. He's looked like a shell of the guy that was pitching in April and May. I mean, the more Clay Holmes comes in and pitches is the more my opinion of him as usual goes back of he's not a big-time closer. He's just not. He doesn't have that gene in him, which makes me think they're going to have to go out and get a big-time reliever. They're going to have to, at least to bolster the bullpen up. Because if I don't trust Clay Holmes in a game against the first-place Orioles team at home, I don't think I trust Clay Holmes in a playoff game with that stadium packed and extra loud.
Right.
Trevino's becoming a problem behind the plate. And I never thought I'd say that because he's a terrific fielder, but clearly there's a book out on him on throwing. I mean, it's very obvious at this point because the Red Sox exposed it. Alex Cora exposed it, a guy who was a notorious. I mean, the Yankees know more, about Alex Cora's base stealing than they'd like to know, but the guy who was a notorious base stealer, a guy who knows a lot about base running, clearly has exposed something because the Orioles were running all over him. The Orioles were so confident they were running on him in extra innings with the extra runner on. And Trevino cost the run. And I'm sorry, that ball thrown away was the tying run. That was the game-winning. That would have been the game-winning run. So the Orioles, I mean, they played well. They're a good baseball team, but this is a game the Yankees shouldn't have let get away. I mean, they came back. They fought back. This is a game they should have won. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those frustrating losses because they did a lot of things poorly late in this game to give this game away.
Yep, they gave the game away. That's exactly it. That's the most frustrating thing. I would have preferred for them to just turn around, lay down, lose 5-1, and do it that way instead of putting us through this nonsense. Because I said it in the bottom of the ninth. They can't tie this game. They have to win it because they're awful in extra innings. For some reason, this team is horrendous in extra innings, and I don't understand why. It's absolutely ridiculous. And at home, they're horrendous in extra innings. I don't get it. I really don't. They're
on the road too. They're one of those teams on the road that they don't score in the top of the 10th.
Yeah.
Or if you don't do that.
Yeah, but if they do, like, was it the Rockies that one time where they scored in the top of the 10th, then they let the Rockies score, then they scored in the top of the 11th, then they let the Rockies score, and then the Rockies.
They made a good point they made a good point on the broadcast with the Manfred runner. You need to score that second run. The first run really means nothing because every team gets the same start. You need to score that second run. And
it's the second
again,
run.
that's a problem, though, is the problem with the whole thing is once the Orioles, the Orioles got the first run and then they decided to run on Trevino the second time. If you're a team that has the confidence with a run lead, knowing the Yankees are going to have that second run, to try and steal on Trevino in extra innings probably means that there's a book out on Trevino, right?
Well, after this weekend, yes. I mean, everyone thought it was on national TV.
there's a book out on him, and there's a read, and people are very confident in running on his arm, and people are very confident he's going to throw the ball away, and he's been doing that. I'm sorry, like I think half of it the other night was Stroman, who's generally slow to the plate, but a lot of this is on Trevino, and I think it's showing even more when the Orioles ran today that Sunday had a lot more to do with Trevino than it did on Stroman.
Yeah. The other frustrating thing, the Yankees not being able to do anything against Povich. What did I say?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being right about stuff like that. I really don't. But you watch enough. We watch every game. We analyze the games. We do this for a living. We do the show 5 days a week. So we see a lot of things that people may not look for, or, some people don't always watch every game. And it's just, this is it. 4.76 ERA coming in, and I knew it. I was like, it might be a
guy with the 1 ERA. The guy with the 1 ERA, though, clobber. It's the guy with the 4.5 that they can't touch. Did Aaron Judge not playing give you any weariness? Was him not being an option off the bench in extra innings give any weariness?
Nope, because I knew they were not gonna. His hand was, he could barely close it yesterday. As long as it's not. They got the x-rays back. I knew they weren't going to play him today. I'm not worried about that. He might be out even a couple more games, but that's a hard, you got hit like right there. That's not a good spot to be hit.
I'd agree. I'm just surprised. To me, he seemed very lackadaisical about it in the post game yesterday. When they asked Judge up front about it in the post game, he seemed very much like, yeah, it's a flesh wound. It's nothing. And I would have thought if it was as lackadaisical as he described it, 24 hours later, he would have been able to pick up a bat and pinch hit for somebody in extra innings.
But then again, 24 hours later, things feel worse than they do when they first happen. You kind of get that residual soreness. It's like when you work out and you get the DOMS like 24 hours later, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, my entire body hurts. So I'm not worried about that. The thing I don't like, the double plays killing them again. They walked 5 times against Povich, but didn't really get anything to show for it. Like you said, Volpe, Stanton, Verdugo's play in the top of the 9th. My God. Mm-hmm. I mean, the game could have been blown open at that point, and he saved the game there. And it was just...
He's an incredible fielder. I know he knew this coming over, and he's been great all year, but he is an outrageously great outfielder. He gets to everything. I got to be honest with you, we watched him a lot in Boston, so we saw him a lot, and you always knew he was a good player, but he really didn't put it all together in Boston. Certainly didn't do that in LA. He's a really solid baseball player. He's not a superstar. He's not going to get paid $30 million a year, but he's just a damn good baseball player.
Yeah, he's
fun
like
to
the
watch.
Type of guy that you want on your team because he supports the superstars and he does things like he'll do things every once in a while, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, Alex Verdugo.
Yeah, Yankee fans had this love affair with Brett Gardner. I think they never wanted him to retire ever, and I think Alex Verdugo is a better Brett Gardner. I think he's a better version of that player. I think he's a better fielder than Gardner was. Gardner was a good fielder, but I think Verdugo is a much better fielder than Gardner was. I think he's a better hitter than Gardner was. I don't know how Gardner had that 1 year where he hit like 38 homers that no one understands how he did that.
Right.
Other than that, Verdugo's got power. He's got pop. He's got the clutch factor. He hits for better average than Gardner at the end of his career for certain. I don't know. He's one of those things you watch the Verdugo as a player and you watch him every single day. Really, really just, again, not a superstar, but he's just a damn solid baseball player.
So the bad thing, obviously, they tie the game in the bottom of the 9th. The combination of Volpe, Stanton. Stanton had himself a hell of a game, like you said. He basically took the reins and was like, all right, I got this.
The home run was impressive, but the base hit with 2 strikes to stay in that at bat was something Stanton notoriously has not done with the Yankees. But Stacey, he hit that ball like 190 miles an hour. They were saying, oh, well, the Volpe stealing the base is the reason that the third baseman was out of position. I don't know if the third baseman's getting to that ball if he's in position. I mean, that ball was hit so damn hard. Now, the only difference is if Volpe's not running, I don't know if he scores.
Right.
because that ball was hit so hard, they might not have been able to send him. So it did score the run, but he is just, I mean, when he gets a hold of that ball, and then he's on the home run too, which is impressive, he didn't have his back foot planted.
I know.
His back foot was, I mean, he's so strong that the ball still carried out of the park. I mean, he's an incredible, athlete. It's ridiculous.
So that happens. And like I said, I even tweeted it. I said, you can't go to extra innings. You're not going to win this. You can't do it. You're awful in extra innings. And they were beyond awful in extra innings. Now let's go to Cole quickly. So the plan, 65 to 70 pitches. He threw 62. He started off slowly, and then third inning, he starts striking out people. And in those 2 innings, the third and fourth, he struck out 5 combined. So he was looking more Cole-like as he got into the game. You know, he had his pissy look on his face when, a ball went by Glaber, and he just looked mad that, things weren't happening for him. And I was just I was so happy to see Gerrit Cole,
He was very aggravated when Marinaccio came in and gave up that run. He was you could see on his face, like he was angry. I like the competitive fires there though. And he told Boom when he came back into the 4th inning, no, I'm going back out there.
Yeah.
He told him more. So the competitive fire is there for Cole. This was a fine first start back. He'll only have to build off this. Gerrit Cole will be just fine.
Yep. You mentioned Marinaccio. Let's mention one thing about the bullpen. Scott Efros is with Tampa. He's working his way back to the Yankees. He pitched an inning. He didn't give up a hit, didn't give up a run, he didn't surrender a walk. He struck out one. One batter reached on him, but he got out of it with a double play ball. So this is big because they need bullpen arms, and Scott Efros is one of them. So good and bad things.
I think they're going to have to make them. I think inevitably they're going to have to make a move in the bullpen.
Oh, well, no, they have to.
For a high-end reliever.
No, they really have to.
I don't trust Clay Holmes in big spots. But I don't trust Clay Holmes in big spots.
Yeah.
I don't. I know his numbers to start the year were great, but what has he done in his career to prove to you that he could pitch in big games? I mean, he really hasn't done anything. I think they're going to need a big-time closer.
Hopefully they'll be able to get one. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we hit 6,500 today. Very exciting. That's 6,500 more people than I ever thought possible. Hit the like button on our videos, hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. And for Fan Mail Friday, reply to the pinned comment. I even put an arrow on today's comment to let you know exactly where to put your questions underneath the videos. We do Fan Mail Friday every week. It's a lot of fun. If you join our Locked On Yankees Insiders Club, you get top priority for those questions, but we will still answer your YouTube questions. But please join Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. It's fun. You get text from us. You can text us questions. I didn't look, so I don't know what the reactions were to the game because I was too busy doing other things, but I'll let you guys know tomorrow how crazy everyone was. Coming up next, a look at some possible trade scenarios. Here on Locked On Yankees, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, the playoffs, injury updates, rehab updates. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. You can see the link in this episode description below. Locked On Yankees is also brought to you by Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Life can be unpredictable, And Policy Genius can take away the worries of what your family would do if something happened. Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. They have no incentive to recommend one insurer over the other, so you can trust their guidance. Look for yourself. There are thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs with Policy Genius. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedon and click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonMLB. Welcome back to Locked On Yankees. Locked On Sports Today is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the noise. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And don't forget, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. Very exciting. So this was in The Athletic a few days ago. We didn't get to do it on Wednesday's show because of our technical difficulties. So we moved this to segment 2 of tonight's show. So Brian, let's talk to everyone about these possible trade targets.
My definition for trade on the Yankees, I think it's bar none at this point. They're going to need a reliever. They have to go out there and get a reliever. And I think as a Yankee fan, you can have a lot of faith that Cashman's going to go out there and do that, right? He seems to every year go after and get some bullpen pieces. I think that'll be a mark that he usually looks to advance on. My thing is where they need more help is at third base or first base. I think they have the option with the Rizzo injury of going either way, right? Because LeMahieu could play their position. So I think they're going to go with the best player they get available, not necessarily the best third baseman or the best first baseman. They're going to go with the best fit for their team. I personally am going to start with the guy that I think is the best fit for their team. And I think it's from the Angels. I think it's Luis Rengifo. He, I think, is having the best season out of any of the guys. The other guy that Kirchner thinks is the other best player they can go get is Lamont Wade. Lamont Wade, to me, we've seen enough of him. We know what he is, right? We don't know what Rengifo is. He's hitting .311 this year. Not a lot of power, but they don't need power, right? That's not what they're looking for is popping them out. They're looking for a guy that's going to get on base. He will do that. He's a solid third baseman. He plays a really good third base, and I think LeMahieu's fine at first, especially with, I can't sit here and say Ben Rice is a definite backup first baseman because the book on him isn't out yet. You need to give major league players at least 2 or 3 weeks for pitchers to figure things out and see if the hitter can adjust. Because if the hitter can't adjust and he starts getting out a lot, you'll know pretty quickly if he can handle it or not, especially as a backup first baseman. I don't know what you're feeling. The two guys that everyone seems to be on are Lamont Wade and Rengifo. I'm a Rengifo guy. I think he's a great player. I think he's a 300 hitter. I think it's more of what they need in their lineup as opposed to what Wade is doing. And I think a third baseman fits more what they want to do rather than a third baseman.
Yeah. The only thing with DJ is he's fine defensively, but he's killing them. He's killing them on offense. Although he was screwed in that first at bat.
And I think you can see in his at bats too, it does look like he's starting to figure things out. Like he doesn't look, in my opinion, he doesn't look completely lost to the plate. Like you got to remember too, he's still in spring training for himself. So he is still, you have to give, I think a hitter like that, you have to give a little more time to figure things out. Because he's been a major leaguer for so long, because he's a former batting champion, you got to give him a little time to adjust and figure things out. So I'm not as concerned about DJ, but I get what you're saying, especially with the struggles the last few years. There's a chance that DJ continues to struggle. My thing is, at first base, I have more confidence in his fielding ability where they can absorb a lot of things at first base. Whereas at third base, you need a productive third baseman. And I think you're getting more out of that. I think Rengifo fits the lineup better than I think Wade does. Also, there's more protection around that like Rengifo's doing all this on the Angels thing, second for them with nothing around him at all. There's a little more Lamont Wade's getting out of that lineup in San Francisco. A lot more better hitters in that lineup. A lot more of a competitive team out there. I think it'll take a decent amount to get any of them, and I think it takes a decent amount because other teams know A, how good the Yankees are, and B, how badly the Yankees need these guys.
Right.
So I think it will take a little bit of a solid package. I don't think this is a Spencer Jones type package, but I think you are giving up some valuable prospects for either of these two guys. The relievers, again, I think if you're going to go out there and get the closer out of Oakland, I think it's going to cost Spencer Jones and more. I do. But I think it's worth making the move. I don't know how you feel. I'm not super attached to Spencer Jones, as all the listeners know. And I'm not willing to give him up for nothing. But I don't personally trust Clay Holmes in a big spot. I don't. I think he came into the year pitching really well when there's not a lot of pressure on you. And he didn't give up a lot of runs early on, and he pitched really good, and he looked really good early on. Since then, since those first runs, he has been a very, very mediocre reliever in the league. He has. I'm going to call it like it is. He's given up 6 runs in his last 6 appearances. His ERA is skyrocketed back up. And this is not me saying this now, and I've not been a big Clay Holmes guy since the start of the season. I haven't been a big Clay Holmes guy the last couple of years. When I watch Clay Holmes pitch, I see good stuff. I see a reliever who can be really good at times. I don't see an elite arm. I don't see a Josh Hader. I don't even see a Kimbrel. I don't see a guy that every time going out there, you have confidence in going to get it done. And I think they're going to need to go out there and acquire that piece. And there's no shame in doing that. You know, we all, out of any fan base in sports, the Yankees should be able to tell you how valuable a closer is, right? I mean, out of any fan base. I don't think Spencer Jones and a couple other prospects is too big of a price to pay for the kid on Oakland, who's got 6 years of control left and throws 102 miles an hour. That's just me. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe our fans feel differently. To me, though, that can be the difference in winning a World Series. Yankees fans should know that. And to me, I don't know about you, Stacey. Do you see Clay Holmes closing out a big World Series game? I personally don't.
Not if he keeps pitching the way he's pitching now. And I think the problem with the Yankees bullpen right now is they don't have a lot of guys that have swing and miss stuff, which you want in the bullpen. You don't want people. I mean, it's not that the defense is horrible, but you can't keep relying on the defense to make plays behind you. Like you want guys in the bullpen to be able to mow people down.
And it's a good point you made too. It's a good point you made too. Clay Holmes is a very contact based pitcher. He gets guys out off contact, which is fine, but there is a human element to baseball too. And when
that's better
you're talking
suited for the 7th and 8th inning, not the 9th inning.
Yeah, let's talk about the 9th inning in October when it's 30 degrees outside and there's a chill in the air and the guy's nerves are bouncing up and down a little bit, and Clay Holmes is putting the ball in the field. A lot more errors are caused in those spots. So, you know, I mean, that is a factor. There's a human element to baseball, and that's a big human element of it. You gotta, to me, the game where the game is right now, it's strikeouts. That's why Josh Hader is one of the best closers in the league. You're in a strikeout spot in those spots, and Holmes doesn't strike guys out. Again, I don't hate Clay Holmes. I'm not an anti-Clay Holmes guy. I just don't see him as a big moment pitcher, and I think you need those guys, especially in October. And Yankee fans that have any fan base should be able to tell you that.
Yep. I would agree with that. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you know, like you said, Cashman will go out and get what they need. I feel like
there'll be a reliever acquired. It just depends on who it is.
Yeah. You know, I don't think it's going to be one of these, we're getting this one back, we don't have to trade. They're going to trade. They need like at least 2 bullpen arms at this point. At least 2. So, yeah, it's going to be something. It's going to be something to watch, though, for the next, because it's June 20th. This episode goes up on June 20th. That's crazy. So think about a month from June 20th and 10 days from July 20th is the trade deadline. So we're almost there.
You're almost there. And you got to start thinking about these moves because, I mean, again, there's going to be guys out there that you've seen it the last couple of years. You've got to attack early. You've got to go out there and get your piece a little early. You can't wait till July 30th to make your move. It has to be done early. So you're going to have to see that out of this team. You can't wait. And you see the Yankees do the last couple of years, they haven't waited. They've done it. They've done it as soon as possible.
Right. All right. Coming up next, previewing the series finale between Luis Gil and Cole Irvin.
You know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? Well, that's what I get with Stitch Fix. Guys, my girlfriend's been away for the last month, and I can't wait for her to go home and take her on a date and look really good in my outfit from Stitch Fix. I just give my stylist my size, my style, and my budget preferences, and it's all done. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscriptions required. And they send 5 just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro style advice. I keep what works and I send back the rest. And if you don't love something, all you have to do is send it back. If she doesn't love something, all you have to do is send it back. Shipping, returns, exchanges, they're always for free. Style that makes you feel just as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/MLB, and you can get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $20 off. stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on the free Amazon Fire TV app and the free Fire TV Channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7. Cover the top sports stories today with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows that are covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV Channels app, and you got to remember that you can catch every pitch of the Yankees' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. You just got to download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. Stacey, the rubber match. I think it's important to win these series against Baltimore. These are series that you look back in October and you're a game back of Baltimore. You're going to want to have these games. Mm-hmm. And this is a big test for Luis Healy. It's the mound against Cole Irvin, who's had a nice year for Baltimore. But Luis Healy right now is probably the American League starter for the All-Star game. So this is the moment where you got to go out there and you got to shove, right? 9.1, 2.03 ERA, but you can kind of throw these stats out when you're going into a game against Baltimore that you got to go win. So, stats are nice. It's really good what Luis Healy's done this year. I'm impressed with how he's pitched this year, but it all kind of goes away if he doesn't pitch well in these big moments, right? If you don't pitch well against against the teams that are in first place, what does it matter how good you are, Mm-hmm. So this is a huge, huge, huge test for Luis Healy.
Yeah. Well, he has his teacher with him. Cole's there. So I think Cole will, if something happens where he loses it a little bit, because Heal doesn't lose it like other pitchers do. He'll lose it a teeny bit and they'll notice it. And then they'll bring him into the dugout. They'll talk to him and then he figures it out and then he fixes it. And he hasn't had that instance where he's completely fallen apart yet. So, of course, now that I just said that, but hopefully it won't happen on Thursday. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he does against Baltimore because Nestor did well against the Baltimore lineup. Cole was pretty good against the Baltimore lineup. They really ended up losing that game once the bullpen came in. So I have faith in Luis Healy that he can keep them in check.
I think he can, but we're going to have to see. Right. I mean, again, like I said, you can dominate against the Royals of the world and the other teams that he's dominated against. And no one's taking those starts away from Luis Healy. But when you get to these big starts against these teams like Baltimore, where you got to win these games, right? These are games that you're going to need. These are the games that count, right? I mean, the years past would just go to the last true Yankee ace before Gerrit Cole, or use Gerrit Cole as the best example, right? Gerrit Cole struggled in that wild card game against Boston, and they lost that game, and it was devastating for the Yankees, right? Gerrit Cole was looked at as a great pitcher that entire season. And then he lost that wild card game, and Yankee fans didn't let up on him, right? He can't pitch in the big game. He can't beat the Red Sox. That was the whole narrative. You don't beat the teams that matter to beat. Doesn't matter how good you are. That's how Yankee fan base looks at it, and that's how a championship fan base looks at it. So if you're Luis Healy and you want to consider yourself, dare I say, a number 2 in this rotation, because he's been that way this year, and as much as I've loved how Rodon's looked, Luis Healy's been their number 2 this year. If you want to look at yourself as that type of pitcher and you want to be referred to as that kind of pitcher, then you go out and you shove against Baltimore. That's what you do. So he better be prepared. Again, your ERA can be what it is. Your average, your win-loss can be what it is. Doesn't matter. When you go up against these teams, you have to go give the Yankees 6 innings, 1-run, 2-run baseball, and give them a chance to win.
speaking of heel, Michael Tonkin was wearing a Luis Heel God Bless Me shirt, which I think is, again, this team is, they're adorkable. They really are. They genuinely like each other. You can see it in the dugout. You know it from hearing these stories about these guys. You know, Cole had 2 candles in his locker on Wednesday before his start. Like, they're all getting into all these like team
and there's value behind that.
And yeah, like, I mean, it's a different feeling with this team. They'll hit some bumps in the road because every team hits bumps in the road. But I think that this team has a really good nucleus and a really good attitude, and the way they truly like each other is really going to help them.
Having said that, having the pitching advantage in this series, clearly, and the way they lost this game in game 2 of the series, this is a very frustrating loss series if they lose this game.
Yes.
If they lose game 3 and they lose this series, I'm not going to overreact over a June series. But if they lose this series, lose this game, it is a very, very frustrating series loss.
Yes. Just because, yeah.
The way you lose it.
The way that the game on Wednesday night was lost was just so annoying. Like I said, I would have preferred for them to just go down 5-1. Okay, you lost. You couldn't hit. Fine. But fighting back and then falling apart and embarrassing yourselves in extra innings again.
No, you're right. Can't happen.
It can't happen. And it can't happen in a game where you're, retaliating for what they did to your team the night before. You can't walk around with your chest puffed and doing all this stuff if you're going to lose in an embarrassing way to the team who's right behind you in the standings.
Yeah.
This seems to happen to the Yankees a lot. Do you remember that game before the All-Star break against Houston a few seasons ago where they were up like 7-2 and they had the jacket on and Sanchez was celebrating his early home run and then Houston walked it off after the Yankees gave up like 6, just please. So they have to get out of that as well.
You're right.
Let's stop doing that. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, I'm looking forward to Thursday. Like I said, I think Heel should be fine. It would be great. What a boost would that be for him too?
Oh yeah. Statement game. It's a statement game.
To come out and do that against the Orioles, or even if he has kind of an iffy game, but he still keeps them in the game and the offense can actually do something against Irvin, that would be good too.
Big statement game. 4:00 start, by the way, Yankee fans. If you're wondering, if you don't turn the game on at 7 and miss it. It's a 4:00 start.
Right. One more time, you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. There's a link in the description under our YouTube videos at a 14-day free trial. You get text from us. You can text us questions. We'll send you out all the roster moves and all the rehab updates. And yeah, it's fun. We're thinking of more perks for you guys. Just to let you know, we're coming up with ideas to give you guys some better perks other than the Fan Mail Friday. So look for that in the near future. And if you want to participate in Fan Mail Friday and you aren't an insider, you can leave your questions under the pinned comment below our YouTube videos Monday through Thursday to get your questions answered. And remember, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you tomorrow.